Hey, happy Monday, everybody. Hope you're doing well. I'm Cindy Baker, and I am the creator and founder of the 3P Power Program, which is a group coaching program for entrepreneurs and other creative professionals that have ADHD symptoms. So, tonight we've got a great topic. We're going to talk about how to stay more focused at work, or how to get focused to start with. Um, 90% of the noise in our brains is absolutely useless a lot of times. It's just chatter, um, you know, self-focused chatter, worrying about the past, anxieties about the future. If we can recognize that noise, some people call it head trash, then we have a choice of what to pay attention to. Even if you have ADHD, you have a choice. You can flip a switch and quiet your mind on demand. I don't know if you knew that, but I have ADHD, so I'm not just telling you something I read in a book. This really works, um, because if you have ADHD, your brain is like mentally hyperactive. You get a lot of excessive worry. There's what we call rumination, where you're going over and over and over something that you're upset about, and in a loop. Um, and so the next time that you're feeling overwhelmed and unfocused, um, pause and really listen to the chatter in your head. Try to like step back and take a look at it and think, what is going on in there, and it gives you some control and a choice. So I've got a few tips for you, and the first one is just to pause and plan. Um, Whenever I find myself really having trouble focusing, especially because there's just too much going on in my head, um, I've learned to do deep breathing, and I don't mean any kind of weird woo-woo thing. I just mean, um, to calm your heart rate. Uh, so some people do 4, 7, 8 breathing, um, but you could just try 4. You just breathe in for 4 counts. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then breathe out. 1, 2, 3, 4. And even just doing it one time, it's hard to explain until you try it. But when you're in the heat of the moment, and you're stressing out, if you can pause and deep breathe, if I would suggest doing that 3 times, it calms your heart rate. So the blood going to your brain is not firing off all those neurons that cause stress, that cortisol level, and it enables you to think clearly and calmly about what you're doing and what you can and should be doing next. So after your heart rate goes down, get a piece of paper, and I mean, not I like old school paper, not digital for this. Write down what you have to do. You know, um, it's amazing how much we think we're going to remember in our heads, but we really don't remember. And if you have ADHD, you actually have an impairment a lot of times in your working memory. So once you put it down on paper, then you can strategize, you can plan, you can put it in your planner or your digital planner or whatever. But you don't have to worry anymore about remembering everything, because a lot of what's going on in our head is worry, because we're not organized and we're overloaded in our schedule, and we forgot things. So it's easier to focus if you pause and plan. Um, People with ADHD are notorious for getting bored easily. Um, you've got these neural I guess, is that the right word? Neural connections that take place in your brain's default mode. So when you do pause in that boredom, your brain comes up with new ideas. It's almost like you're stopping the unintentional head trash, and you're intentionally stopping and taking back control of your brain, and your brain comes up with new ideas. Um, so a lot of times this happens when you're in a time where you don't have to be, on all the time, like walking the dog, or your commute to work, doing the dishes, some kind of mindless task. Instead of thinking of the next thing, try to just be in the moment, um, and be aware of what's around you, because so much energy is wasted living in the past and in the future. So let yourself daydream. Um, establish a clear schedule, and break down large tasks that you wrote down and break them down into smaller ones. This is something that I go into in detail in my coaching program. But that's so important to combat that feeling of overwhelm. Um, and it's easier to overcome procrastination if you've got smaller little mini tasks that make up a big project. And some people call it chunking. Is when you set deadlines for each step, and you chunk together smaller tasks that go together. So go back and put that assignment in your own words, and write it down. If you're not sure what to do, write down. Try to break down the steps and write that down. So the first thing, is pause and plan. The next is when you're having trouble focusing, clear your space. Um, that may sound like a waste of time, but the visual clutter keeps you from focusing. I have a whole 4-part series on conquering clutter in my group coaching program, because I think it is so important. And it's not just about trying to be a neat freak, or, having it look a certain way. It's about being productive. Because while you're at your desk, keep only what you're working on in front of you. That's it. Get everything else out of your line of sight. No papers, no phone. Um, Listen to music. Music activates the part of the brain that's in charge of controlling the external stimuli that steals your attention. Music with no words, because the lyrics are going to distract you. Or get a white noise machine that just kind of sounds like a fan. Sometimes you can change venues. Some people are able to work better in a coffee shop. I am not. I get distracted by looking at people. um, but, neuroscience is amazing, and we're learning more and more, especially recently. It's becoming kind of the fad to learn all about your brain science. But they've gotten insight and discovery as one of the top mental functions that we need to stay focused at work. And insight and discovery are most accessible to us when we break up our routines. And it kind of jump starts your imagination. So try moving around and working in different areas of your home, or your office. If you have long meetings, um, bring something to fidget with, because there's a connection between your brain and actually pen and paper writing. It's different than typing. So take notes or doodle, but if you don't do anything physically with your hands, you're going to zone out. So clear the clutter, and then you're ready to tackle your to-do list. A lot of the stress that people feel doesn't come really from having too much to do. They think that's what it's from. Uh, but it comes down to not finishing what they've started. Because as I work with a lot of people with ADHD, they say, I just have too much to do. But if they were just to finish the different things they started, they would realize they really don't have as much as they thought. So, so there's a little acronym DWYDN. No one's going to remember that, but it stands for do what you're doing now. So, finish what you sat down to work on. Do what you're doing now, because this is what happens. You sit down to do one thing and you get distracted and your attention gets pulled away to something else, and it's compelling, and so you want to start doing that other thing. And then you've abandoned the first thing you were working on. So too often, we jump out of a task to pick up another task that seems, easier or more interesting and more fun, and we never come back to the original task. So we do a little of this and a little of that. And we never finish anything. And this is why it feels like you have so much to do. So I encourage you to avoid multitasking. Try a new tactic, and that is to do one thing at a time. And that's probably not something you're used to, and so it's going to take some practice. Um, but try, powering through something for 25 minutes, excuse me, and then something else for like take a little break, and then something else for 25 minutes. Um, and maybe you could even go to 45. 25 is a good time for me. But variety and opportunity to get up and move, that's going to help you. Set a timer, um, and say out loud to yourself, "This is what I'm going to do now." And by doing that, it's like you're building a fence around that task to keep out the potential distractions. Um, so if you get a text notification, it's tempting, but you say to yourself, that's not what I'm doing right now. So you do what you're doing right now, and you keep at it until you finish it. You say, that's not what I'm doing now. This important task is what I'm doing now. And you go back, and you have to practice bringing your brain back into focus. So I love post-it notes. Write yourself a post-it note. Write, I can finish this project, and stick it right up there to remind you to stick with the one thing that you're supposed to be doing. You could even, if you don't want anybody to know, you just use an acronym, like TTF, time to focus. No one will know what that stands for, but you'll know, and it'll remind you. Because, forward progress beats perfection. I always say to my clients, done beats perfect, because so many times they want to wait until all of the circumstances are perfect, and the motivations there, they feel a certain way, and then they don't get anything done. So just doing something and finishing something, that is better than perfection, even if it's only done 90%. So don't critique the job that you're doing until you've completed it, because perfectionism is going to sidetrack you, and you get frustrated with how much you've got left to do, and stay healthy. That's another way to stay focused at work. If you're tired and you just ate a whole bunch of sugar, or drank a whole bunch of sugar, you're going to get sleepy, and your brain is going to have that little spike of quick energy, and then you're going to crash. So feed your brain with the right fuel. You can have sugar like dried fruit, apples with peanut butter, almonds, things like that. And exercise. Get up and move around. The best way to promote long-term focus is to exercise. It sends more oxygen to the brain, and it stimulates the release of those hormones that we need, the nutrients, the neurotransmitters, and all the agents that optimize your brain function. Uh, so I think that's why some people with ADHD jiggle their leg when they're sitting still. They got a lot of nervous energy, chew gum, things like that. But moving around does stimulate the brain. And then have a recovery ritual. Accept the fact that your brain is not designed to operate at the same level all day long, uh, all the time, or even for a few hours. Uh, get up and stretch for a few minutes. That brings oxygen to your brain. Take a short walk, get up and straighten something up or clean something out. It resets your environment, and it resets your mind. They even say yawning reduces that hyperactivity in the frontal lobe of your brain. I don't know. To me, yawning seems like it would just make you want to yawn more, and then that would make you want to take a nap. But and I forgot to say at the beginning of this, if you're watching live, to say hi in the chat wherever you're catching this. And if you happen to catch this on replay, let me know. Just say #replay, and let me know if you have any other tips you want to add. Hey, Laura Joe. I see Laura Joe's here in one of the Facebook groups. So that's all I got for you. There's a whole lot more we could say. If you want help with this kind of thing, the best way is to join my coaching program, because I can give you these free tips, and they're helpful, but you really need the structure and the support to implement these strategies for it to really have the long-term effect that you want it to. So if you're interested at all in finding out more about that, just let me know, and I'll get you the information. But hope you have a wonderful rest of your week, and stay focused. Bye.